There comes a moment in every human life when the noise that once filled your days begins to fade. The laughter, the constant scrolling, the endless conversations that once distracted you, they all fall silent. And for the first time, you are left face to face with yourself. No audience, no validation, just you, and the sound of your own breathing. Most people can't stand that moment. They panic. They reach for their phone, turn on music, anything to escape the weight of their own company. But a rare few, decide to stay at first. Solitude feels unbearable. The silence seems to have a weight pressing on your chest, forcing you to listen to the echoes of thoughts you've avoided for years. Regrets resurface. Memories you buried return. You remember every face, every word, every moment that left a scar. And yet, beneath that discomfort, something begins to shift. Because solitude, if you stay with it long enough, starts to change its shape. The same silence that once felt suffocating begins to breathe life into you. It starts teaching you things that no one else ever could. You begin to realize that loneliness was never your enemy. It was your teacher. It strips away the masks you've worn to please the world. It removes the noise that drowned your inner voice. And in the quiet, you start to hear the truth again. You begin to recognize the sound of your own soul. That voice was always there, whispering beneath the surface, but you were too busy to listen. Now, there's nowhere to run. And that's when transformation begins. In solitude, you meet yourself as you truly are, not the version you show to others, not the one that seeks approval, but the raw, unfiltered truth. You start to notice your thoughts, your fears, your patterns. You realize how much of your life was built around distraction, around the fear of being forgotten, the fear of being unseen. But solitude reveals something deeper. You were never forgotten. You simply forgot yourself. The silence becomes your mirror, and at first, it's cruel. It reflects everything you hate, everything you denied. The parts of you that crave attention, that fear rejection, that feel not enough, you'll see them all. But if you keep looking, if you dare to stay, you'll start to see beauty in the reflection. The kind of beauty that doesn't come from perfection, but from truth. Solitude is the furnace of the soul. It burns away illusion. It melts away the noise of identity until all that remains is essence. Every saint, every mystic, every visionary walked through the valley of solitude. They understood something the world forgets. That clarity comes in silence. That peace isn't found in noise, but in the spaces between the sounds. The world fears silence because silence reveals. It reveals how fragile we've become, how addicted we are to the comfort of company. We think we crave connection, but often what we truly crave is escape. Escape from our own thoughts, from the voice that asks, "Who am I?" when no one is watching. But solitude doesn't let you hide. It turns off the lights of distraction and leaves you with the only thing that truly matters, yourself. In that stillness, something ancient awakens. You begin to see patterns in your choices, in your relationships, in your pain. You realize that everything was connected, that every loss carried a lesson, that every silence had a message. Solitude is not emptiness. It's communication from the divine, spoken in the language of stillness. At first, your mind resists. It screams for noise. It tells you you're wasting time. It tempts you to go back to the world, to the comfort of others. But if you sit long enough, the storm settles. The thoughts slow down. The emotions that once drowned you begin to fall silent, one by one. And then, you begin to hear something deeper than thought. The pulse beneath the chaos. The heartbeat of your soul. You realize that solitude doesn't isolate you from life. It connects you to it. You start feeling the rhythm of nature, the breathing of the earth, the subtle energy that flows through everything. You start seeing the world not as something outside of you, but as an extension of you. The trees, the wind, the stars, all whispering the same truth, that you are never alone. This is the paradox of solitude. The deeper you go into it, the less alone you feel. Because in the absence of others, you discover the presence of something infinite. Call it consciousness, call it God, call it life itself, it doesn't matter. It's the same current flowing through all beings, waiting for you to notice it. That's why the wise have always sought solitude, not to escape the world, but to return to it renewed. Jesus went into the desert. Buddha sat beneath the tree. The prophets withdrew into silence, not to avoid people, but to find themselves before returning to serve them. They knew that without solitude, there is no strength. Without silence, there is no clarity. Solitude is the forge where character is formed. It teaches you discipline to listen before speaking, to think before acting, to be before doing. It gives you back your attention, your presence, your depth. And in a world addicted to speed and noise, that presence becomes your superpower. When you finally learn to be alone without feeling lonely, you become untouchable. You no longer chase validation. You no longer fear rejection. You no longer bend your truth just to be accepted. Because solitude has shown you that peace does not come from others. It comes from alignment within. That is the hidden strength of solitude, self-sovereignty. Once you find it, no one can take it from you. You can lose everything, money, status, relationships, and still remain whole. Because you've built your foundation in silence, not in noise. There will be nights when solitude feels like a curse. When the walls close in and every memory echoes louder than before. You'll question your purpose, your worth, your path. But remember, the night is not your enemy. It's your initiation. Every transformation begins in darkness. Seeds grow in the soil before they ever touch the light. The silence you endure now is not punishment, it's preparation. You are being rebuilt. The old layers are falling away. The noise that once defined you is fading, and something new, something powerful, calm, and eternal is taking its place. You'll start to notice subtle changes. Your thoughts become slower, your emotions more balanced. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer seek noise, you seek meaning. You begin to move through life with a quiet strength that others can feel but can't explain. They'll ask, what changed? And you'll smile, knowing that it wasn't something you gained, but something you stopped running from. There's a purity in solitude that modern life has forgotten. It's not loneliness. It's the cleansing of the soul. When you are alone long enough, you rediscover awe in small things. The light on your window, the sound of your own breath, the miracle of simply existing. You realize that peace was never out there. It was waiting for you to be still, enough to find it. And when you finally return to the world, you do so differently. The noise no longer controls you. You can walk through the crowd and remain centered. You can love deeply without losing yourself. You can speak less but mean more. You understand that connection is no longer about filling a void. It's about sharing your wholeness. Solitude turns you into the kind of person who no longer chases light because you've realized you are light. It gives you the ability to sit in darkness and still shine, That's the essence of power, not dominance, not control, but inner peace that nothing external can shake. When you learn to find comfort in solitude, you become free. Free from needing approval, free from comparison, free from the endless noise of wanting to be someone else. You stop seeking meaning and start embodying it. You stop asking for direction and start walking with purpose. And it's in that quiet confidence that you finally meet the divine, not as something distant, but as something breathing inside you. You understand that God speaks loudest in silence, that every unanswered prayer was never ignored. It was waiting for you to listen. So if you feel alone right now, don't run. Sit with it. Let solitude unfold its lessons. Let the silence reveal what words never could. The loneliness you fear is not emptiness. It's space being cleared for truth to enter. This is your sacred season. The world may call it isolation, but the soul calls it transformation. Every great awakening begins in the dark, in the quiet, in solitude. It's there, in that space between thought and breath, that you'll find everything you've been searching for. You'll realize that solitude is not the absence of love, but the discovery of its purest form. Because only when you can be alone and still feel complete do you truly know what love is in that state. You no longer depend on the world to define your worth. You no longer chase the illusion of being enough. You know that you are already whole, not because of what you have, but because of what you are. Solitude is not a prison. It's a sanctuary. It's where the soul returns to rest, to heal, to remember. The more you embrace it, the stronger you become. And one day, you'll wake up and realize that the silence that once terrified you now feels like home. You'll crave